gentlemen, it is time, the official start of the first Hops and Bops podcast. I am the producer, Tom.
I'm Joe, one of your hosts.
And I'm Mike. I didn't realize it was my turn to talk.
Well, it is now.
And now you know.
So, this is the first episode. We're all very excited, and we're going to start off with a couple bangers for you. The first album is Wasting Light by Foo Fighters, and the beer is Witchdoctor Brewing's Bunny Patch Strawberry Milkshake IPA.
Can't wait.
I'm very excited for it. So, we've all been waiting. We all have our glasses and our cups here.
Without further ado.
So let's just crack them open. I'm excited.
Cheers, boys.
You know, we're going to pour them in at the same time. Look at that.
Ooh.
A little foam. Got excited.
Tilt those glasses, boys. Speaking of glasses, let's talk about what we chose for today.
I actually did learn if you tilt the glass, you
Yep. You get less head.
You get less head.
Well, you do get less head, but you got to bring it back.
True. But if you let the
Gotta bring it
head
back
go
steady.
and drop, it actually puts less air in the beer. You can drink more.
Okay.
So it depends on what your end goal is.
I like a little half and half. I like to tilt and then bring it back up.
Half
right.
and half.
Yeah, there you
I don't
go.
know about that.
Wow, I'm surprised at how transparent this is here.
It is actually. It's
Very.
Ooh.
Did I grab the wrong beer?
no,
This is
it's
it.
not bad.
Wow.
Mine's,
All
no,
right.
mine's about the same.
Yeah,
Cool. All right.
it's a little hazy at first, but then it clears up.
Okay.
I like
I
it.
see you.
Yeah.
Okay, glasses. So Mike has a very vast collection of beer glasses.
Yeah, we'll have
Not
to
sure-
count before one of the episodes. It's got to be in the 60s plus.
Yeah.
It's got to be.
I know, there's a lot over there. I chose one with baby Carlos from The Hangover on it.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
caught my classic Captain America, who's looking pretty weathered at this point.
Yeah.
The dishwasher a couple of times has not been friendly to him.
Mm-hmm.
I feel a little blasphemous for having a Bud Light glass, but it has all of the NFL teams because we're recording on a Sunday and watching the game somewhere
Yeah.
distant away.
Coincidentally, you tend to see those at bars a lot on Sunday when you watch football. Those style glasses.
Oh, it's weird.
Yeah.
It is.
It's weird that you bought that.
I think you won it in like a raffle. Like
Yes, a Sunday football bar raffle.
Yes, we all know those raffles are very prevalent.
If you're
Yeah.
a big football fan, you've always seen those raffles.
All right. I personally have never had this beer, like I said in the trailer. So
All right, well, give it a shot. See what you think. Aggressive sip.
Sorry, I wanted to make it more audible.
this is not what I expected.
No.
It's got a little bit of strawberry in there. It's
Definitely
more,
strawberry.
more towards the back, I would say.
Yeah.
It's a lot lighter than I thought, and because of the transparency, it's a lot. It does not drink like an IPA to me.
No, it is not super hoppy.
No.
You get that little bit of the IPA flavor at the beginning, and then you really get hit after the sip with that strawberry at the end.
Yes.
But it's not overpowering. Like, it's not like, oh my god, I'm drinking a strawberry milk, you syrup in the morning.
Yeah.
And all that. You just have that slight, like, oh, there's a little fruity flavor at the end.
Mm-hmm.
So it's nice.
Yeah, I wouldn't really call it more of a milkshake because you don't really get that kind of dairy kind of. Not that you want that either, but
No, so when they talk about the milkshake IPAs, it's the whole idea of the way that they brew it, and it's got to do more with fruit. So then they brew it so it's kind of got this like little bit of a cloudier color to it. It makes it a little bit like hazier,
Okay.
versus like a session IPA, which is going to be very light and kind of smoother. So they call it the milkshake IPA because they kind of like what you would do with a milkshake. You're mixing
Yeah.
everything together and it becomes a little thicker and creamier, and then that's where you get that.
okay. It's very good. I enjoyed it a lot. It's it's only 5.4%.
Yeah,
I know, low for an IPA.
Yeah, and it's just above average. I mean, most New England IPAs at this point are around 5%. They say most IPAs are between like 4 and 7, I think. So sitting here at 5.4 is kind of just like your
Right in
baseline.
there. Yeah.
It's right in that middle. I think
Yeah.
the average, even though 4 and 7's average would not be 5, but they say that IPAs are around 5%.
Yeah.
So these guys, Witchdoctor Brewing Company, Witchdoctor Brewing Company
Yeah.
in
I'd
Southington.
like to say buddies of ours. I mean, I don't know if they would refer to us as buddies, but
I think so.
we could refer to them as buddies.
Yeah. So our band, I feel like every episode we're going to plug the band. This podcast, we promise, is not a plug for the band.
Smoove series.
But we do play there a lot, and they've been very, very good to us.
We
so
hope
it's
to actually have them on the podcast in the future.
yeah,
Once we gain some legs.
yeah, and
We get our
toes
sea
and
legs.
heels. And, but yeah, we'd love to do like an episode there, have one of them on. But yeah, great brewery. Love their beer. This is one of them. Cool.
Yeah, so just a little more about it. So if you read the description on it, it says an IPA, Indian Pale Ale, with strawberries, generously hopped with, we said it's
Huel.
Huel melon.
Huel.
So obviously, you don't hear that often. So I kind of looked it up, and they call it an aroma hop. I guess it's it's used a lot, especially known for its smell, and it's supposed to be lighter when it comes to the bitterness. Some IPAs, especially the West Coast IPAs, are very hoppy. They're supposed to be bitter, like that's the point. New England IPAs, which are kind of newer in the beer world, are a little more citrusy. You get the hazy. Actually, I found out today that New England IPAs and hazy IPAs are actually interchangeable.
Yes.
Oh, really?
I didn't realize that was, kind of an interchangeable term for the two.
That is correct.
So they consider that Huel hop
Huel.
Yeah, an aroma hop because it's really associated with a good smell. So
Okay. It's definitely one of my favorites. It's the best beer that we've had on the podcast so far. So I'll give it that.
not bad for episode 1.
I know. The strawberry too. Like, I'm not a big strawberry guy, but I'm not like.
Yeah.
It's not an overpowering.
No, see, I feel
strawberry
like whenever
taste.
I hear berry in a beer, I think of like a blueberry beer or something.
Or like a
When you-
sour. Or
Yeah, and even with the blueberry beers, like I always feel like no matter which one I have, that's all I can taste. Like all I can taste it. This I literally taste IPA. It's smooth, and then it's like a little hint of strawberry. again. That's good.
You're like,
Yeah, right.
strawberry.
Exactly. And I mean, I've played some gigs there where that's what I drank all night, and a lot of times with the fruity beers, the sours, the blueberries, they're almost like a snack beer. You have one or two and you can't. I mean, I think I've probably put back half of one of their vats in the place in one night, and I can just keep drinking this thing. It's just good.
Well, yeah, that's another aspect to it too. Is that you don't really see a lot of strawberry beers. Like you'll see a lot of other fruity beers, like you said, blueberry. I know there's a lot of citrusy ones. Things like that. But strawberry is not really something you see, especially in an IPA. So it's definitely got its own unique kind of blend to it, and you can definitely tell.
And you actually can see that a lot with the beers they do. In general, I mean, I think they have a chocolate peanut butter one they just came out with.
Yeah, that's coming.
I think they canned it. I saw a can the other day on their,
Is it ready?
their Facebook. Yeah.
Should totally talk about that one.
Yeah, we'll get to that
'cause
one.
That
That's
sounds
gonna look
tasty.
good. But altogether, like they just a lot of things. Like they do have a raspberry sour, which is really good, called I Am Fruit, which I thought was pretty clever.
Yes.
Okay.
Instead of
I
I
see
am
you.
root,
Yeah.
I am fruit.
Yeah, and sometimes again, like
That's clever.
sours can be good, and sometimes they can be a little hard to drink. And that one to me is like it's almost like a seltzer, like that smoothness.
Yeah.
It goes down well. I like it.
For me, Witchdoctor, I don't know. They're kind of like the best kept secret in Connecticut breweries because I feel like there's other breweries that, they're at the forefront. I don't want to say any other ones right now, but Witchdoctor, I think, is the best kept secret. They have excellent beer.
My
So,
boss actually came to work one day and found out about this being in Southington. He knew I lived there, so
Yeah.
he was like, "Hey," he's like, "Did you try this? It's a pink can, because the can's pink." And which makes sense because it's strawberries, and then they got the bunny patch, and they've got kind of a very Alice in Wonderland looking bunny on there, enjoying his milkshake IPA, which is literally in like a old school
Like
milkshake
old
with
diner
the
glass.
diner
Yeah,
style.
like a malt shake,
Yeah,
which it actually
and,
says on
it
the
does say
can
that
too.
it's Bunny Patch Malt Shake. So he's like, yeah, I couldn't remember the name, and I instantly knew what he was talking about. I was like, you mean Witchdoctor, and it's Bunny Patch and all that? He's like, yeah. I'm like, dude, I've been drinking that beer for like months now. And he's like, I just heard of this. They're so good.
Yeah.
Like it was funny though. And then I had a few people that I work with again came to a couple shows and then had that, and they couldn't they tried so hard to find it everywhere. They finally did, in like their local package store. But no, it's not like so out there that people are ready for it.
Exactly.
But then at the same time, when they find it, they're like, holy shit, this is good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, this is good though. This is good. I'm glad, Mike, you brought this to the table for our first episode. This is good.
One.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Always got to promote my homegrown.
Yeah.
Witchdoctor Brewing Company. Beautiful.
So now that we've talked about the beer, let's transition a little bit to talk about the album that we picked with the beer and maybe kind of see how it pairs along with Wasting Light by Foo Fighters. Joe?
Quick question. Can we continue drinking the beer as we talk about the album?
Yeah, no, that's a given. I thought
I
okay.
actually have
Yes.
more of them if we run out.
We do.
Yeah,
we can crack more. Okay, great. I was thinking that.
we have the show beers and we have our personal
Yes,
picks.
yes. So, little backstory. We're drinking Bunny Patch, and we're talking about the Foo Fighters, so that's why we call this episode Little Bunny Foo Foo. Like, that's where it's coming from.
We're very clever.
Yeah, we're trying to do something clever. Anyway, Wasting Light by the Foo Fighters is. I know I had mentioned earlier that it's one of my favorites by the Foo Fighters. That's an incorrect statement. It is my favorite Foo Fighters album.
Put your foot down.
Yes, without a doubt. It's my favorite one they have ever made. It's 11 tracks. It's their 7th studio album, and it's produced by Butch Vig, who is a well-known producer in the rock world. He was also behind Nirvana's Nevermind, which Dave Grohl, the frontman of Foo Fighters...
Never heard of that album.
Never heard of it? You should look it up.
It's underground.
There's a naked baby on it. You should... Yeah, it's kind of weird.
Sounds inappropriate.
Yeah, I know, but they put it on there. The parental advisory stickers on
Isn't
there.
that kid like 30 now? He's
I
like
think
our
so.
age.
Yeah. Can you imagine growing up? Hey, that's me on that album cover.
That's my junk on the front there floating.
Ladies.
Yeah, exactly. How many
Yep.
girls do you think he started out that line with?
Yeah, right.
Never mind. I was going to make a joke, but then I said never mind. It all worked out.
But anyway, yeah, so Butch Vig was a producer on Nevermind, so Dave Grohl brought him in for this album. The title of the album, Wasting Light, came from lyrics from one of my favorite songs on the album called Miss the Misery.
Yes.
Easy for me to say. This album is just great, and what makes the album for me is that it's a great listen from beginning to end, and that's a big thing for me. If you can listen to an album and when a song finishes and you can hear in your, like, let's say that song's on a playlist like in shuffle, and another random song is going to come, but when you hear the ending of that song, you can hear the next song on the
you're ready to
album.
go.
Yep.
Right.
I do that a lot.
In your head, and that's what this is for me.
I'm not a huge Foo Fighters guy. I love Dave Grohl. I think he's a great musician. I think does everything like fantastic. He sings well. He plays guitar amazing. He's an unbelievable drummer. The entire deal. But for whatever reason, I struggled to get into the Foo Fighters. I liked their singles here and there. I just could never like listen to an album for whatever reason. I don't even know.
That was one of my biggest frustrations about
me.
our relationship.
This is one thing I fucking hated about you.
I'm like, how? I'm like,
I don't
we
know
got the
what it
drummer
was.
from Nirvana
Yeah.
in a new band,
Yep.
and I'm like, I was
And one
like,
of the
why
guitarists.
can't I gotta get through to Mike somehow.
Yeah. And then when this became an album, I will be honest, this is the first Foo Fighters album I've ever listened to front to back.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And no, I was shocked. I mean, I remember when it came out. It was what, 2011?
Yeah.
2011. Yep.
2011. So we were just about to graduate college.
Yep.
I remember when it came out. I remember it being played a million times in our dorm room.
Yep. Our other roommates, Chris and Dan, we'd be
Yep.
playing it constantly.
Yeah, it was
Yep.
always on. And so I would hear it. I've heard almost every song on the album, but I just never focused on it. And I listened to it through once, and I was like, holy shit, all right, this is a good album.
Yeah.
And then 2 or 3 more times, I started picking up on little things, and, but it was definitely, for me, am I going to go run backwards and listen to every album by them? I don't know, maybe, but, this was definitely one that's now in my queue of go-to albums if I need to hear something.
Yeah.
It's a good one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Finally, we've done it.
Finally. I broke through.
So for me, I was kind of introduced at like a bit of a younger age to this album.
Yeah, you were, what, 4 when this came out?
No, I was in 8th grade. I
That's back when I still didn't like him. Annoying little kid.
So this Bridge Burning was on the Madden NFL 12 soundtrack.
Was it?
It was.
I did not know that.
And I was addicted to that game as a child.
Man.
I spent a lot of money on the Ultimate Team cards while this song was playing in the background. So I never actually gave the album a full listen to because I don't think I really listened to albums until like junior year of high school when I really, because I was more of like a singles kid.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's a different generation.
Yeah, because
when I grew up, I loved albums. Like, it just, for me, it was kind of the way, like, hey, listen to this album.
Here.
And I would listen to the CD when I bought it, you know. But you grew up more in, like, the iTunes. And,
exactly, yeah.
Hey, I like this song.
Yeah,
Click.
Right.
I was kind of raised a bit more into the digital age where you could just, for $1.29, buy a song instead of spending $8 or $9 to buy the album.
They upped it to $1.29 for
Well, yeah, it used to be 99
songs.
cents.
How scary is it, though, that we're talking about literally like 6 years difference, 7 years difference, and that's the gap.
Yeah.
It went from like going to the store to buy the CD that came out to I'm going to buy my favorite song off the album because I don't know any other song by the artist.
And now there's no even downloading songs anymore.
Well, that's what I was getting to. Is
monthly
that
subscription.
When like Spotify and things like that came out, I started to get more into the album side of things because I didn't have to pay for the entire thing. You could just sit down and listen to the whole thing. So actually, before we even had the idea of the podcast, I would go on hikes in the beginning of June and listen to this album all the way through, and it's fantastic. I think it's their best album since The Color and the Shape.
I agree with you.
And you can definitely tell the energy and charisma that they all have together because they did it in Dave Grohl's garage and they did it on tape, which is a big difference, especially when it came out because it was on CD mainly. But you can kind of get the same feeling of the tape that it's on through the recording, and the passion is there, and you can tell.
Yep. And even still, like, you can hear the tape like cueing in all the different instruments. For example, the song Arlandria, I think is track 5, starts with a big like full band intro, but then it goes to singing and like palm muting guitar.
Yep.
But then you hear the drums come in like with a nice calm beat. But if you put headphones on, you can hear when like the drum track starts.
Oh, really?
It's like, you can hear that little bit of extra echo.
I'll have to do that.
Yeah, and it's just those little nuances that really did it for me.
It's like listening to an album like on a vinyl. You know, you tend to get a little more bass, and even though when you get the scratches and things in it, like it almost makes it like you when you're ready for the next song to come on, that like you look forward to that, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
It's just it's a whole different feel because now everything is just so literally like electronic, robotic.
And if
boom, 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 boom.
And if you mess up, we'll just fix it.
Yeah.
But
like our podcast.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yep. But like for this album, because it was recorded on tape, every band member had to have their parts like down, like you know they didn't because they were using tape, the materials weren't.
It just goes to show again. As much as I haven't listened to these guys, it just goes to show how good of a band they are.
Yeah,
all around.
As a musician myself and us too, like I really appreciate the effort that they, put into making this album.
I think my favorite dynamic in the band is Dave and Taylor.
Oh, of course.
Yes,
like, that's my favorite dynamic because they bounce back and forth from drums and guitar and sitting vocals and everything else.
Yep.
And you know me, I'm a very animalistic drummer kind of guy. I love like the Keith Moons, the R.J. Hale, the Shannon Larkin.
Yep.
You know, the guys that just literally flailing as they play. You know, you get a guy like Taylor, and he's got his hair going, and he looks like
even Dave
literally
too.
looks like Animal. But then Dave looks like that too when he plays.
Yeah.
So I love the dynamic between the two of them.
Live too. When you see them live, I mean, they're always bouncing back and forth. The two of them are cracking jokes.
I haven't had a chance with that. But
oh yeah. They're a good show. You should definitely check them out.
Yeah, and also a big shout out to the Back and Forth documentary about the Foo Fighters, which I watched before this. It's very interesting. It's their entire history from like even Dave starting from Nirvana all the way up to this album, and every single album that they've done before that. And the way that they kind of describe how they write a bunch of their songs is that when Dave and Taylor are kind of like locked together, then they can kind of get a groove and a rhythm section going, and then they work from there. So their chemistry is kind of like the forefront on how good the album is going to turn out to be.
I'm so glad you brought that documentary up because that's another huge point. That documentary came out at the same time as this album called Back and Forth, after one of the
Yeah.
songs on the album. And yeah, like you said, it's like a history of the band, and then the last like 20 minutes, half hours, a making of Wasting Light.
Exactly.
So you saw behind the scenes of Dave's house, and like the families are coming over, the
Yeah.
kids are running around. Like you could just tell the atmosphere around themselves when they were making this album was just at all-time high, and you can hear it come through because I don't think there's a bad song on this album. I don't. I mean, there's better
Yeah.
songs, but I think if you pulled out each song, I don't think you can say this song sucks.
Personally, I like Rope. I think Rope is a fantastic song. And I actually, when I first heard it, the way it opens with that guitar delay.
Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun,
Yeah.
dun, dun, like, to me, that would have been a great opening track. And I'm not saying that Bridge Burning is not a good opening track. I'm just saying the way that there's like certain features, and the fact that delay, like to me, like if they were to swap and that came in, that would almost be something that would have been great, like after Walk to like go out with, almost like open and close. Like I don't know, for whatever reason I had that in my head, like this would be, like just such a opener, and then I just love how tight it is.
Yeah,
with all the cuts and everything.
Just
Yeah,
tight. It's interesting you mentioned that because I feel they got it right. I think Bridge Burning, it sets the tone for the album. It's their quintessential rocker. Walk is a great ending song. I think because it has that anthemic bridge where it's kind of like in Monkey Wrench from back in the Color and the Shape, where you can hear an arena like singing along to that bridge. So I thought that was a good ending. Rope actually for me is my second least. It was a tie between Rope and A Matter of Time. Rope just doesn't do it for me. I was disappointed when I heard the whole album, when I finally listened to the whole thing. I was disappointed that they chose that as a single, let alone the lead single. That was the first single for the album. I thought they should have gone with something like Bridge Burning or even These Days, which these days, in my mind, is up there with like Times Like These and Everlong in terms of a quintessential like Foo Fighters song. Like, singability.
I actually put
like
it. I know we talk about like a Dark Horse song.
Yeah.
I actually put it as like I branched a little bit. I said a Dark Horse single.
A Dark Horse single.
Because out of all the singles, obviously it's not a Dark Horse song because it was a single.
Right.
But out of all the singles, I think that one has kind of, like you said, kind of the most Foo Fighters-esque. Just kind of it's like a ballad, but it's not.
Right.
And I really. The more I listen to it, I was like, you just hear yourself singing along.
Exactly.
And it's just a really good
feeling. I did that in the car right here.
Yeah.
It's because he has such a... Dave Grohl, I think, is one of the best all-around musicians in rock.
Agreed.
He can do everything. He can sing really well and scream with a bunch of energy. He can play drums really well and guitar, and I think bass too, right?
I would assume so.
Everything.
Yeah,
I think
played
because the first album he did everything.
He did everything.
Yeah, he even played in Queens of the Stone Age for a little bit, which I found out in the documentary.
Yeah.
So his all-around energy, when he puts it all into a track like that, you can definitely tell what kind of performance comes out of it, and I think he just absolutely nails it on These Days.
I call him, he's like the ambassador of rock and roll right now. When I think of current rock and roll right now, who do you look to? I think it's Dave Grohl right now.
When he played in Nirvana, it wasn't like he was a drummer.
No.
He played well.
God,
it's just that style of music didn't really, I don't think, allow him to shine the way he does with Foo Fighters.
Right.
Well, they mentioned that in the documentary too, is that he learned a lot of basic songwriting from Kurt Cobain because he didn't really have the writing licks that Dave has. But that's where he kind of learned that style, and now that's how he's kind of progressed in rock, especially with his writing style.
Yeah, it's just interesting how good of an album is that far into their career, because this is, we said, seventh album. Pat Smear, who was their lead guitarist earlier in the career, came back in as a full-time member.
And with Nirvana, too.
And with Nirvana.
Right near the end of it.
Pap Smear?
Not Pap Smear.
Patrick Schmear.
Pat Smear.
That's a terrible name.
I know, right?
That is awful.
Dude, he might be listening. Stop.
I was going to say, he became a guitarist, not a gynecologist.
we love you, Pat.
Oh, God. So you got Pat Smear back in the fold.
So dumb.
And then the other guitarist, you got...
Gotta go by Patrick.
or patty at least.
Patty might be nice.
Patty smear. Hey, it's patty smear.
Oh God! And then the other guitarist, you got Chris Shiflett, who they found through auditions. So they're both still in the band. They never had two guitarists. There's only one, and then Dave Grohl would play guitar.
Well,
So
they had Franz for a little bit.
they
too.
had Franz for a little bit. After Color and Shape. Nate Mendel on bass. He's been there since day one. Taylor Hawkins came in after Color and Shape was recorded. But anyway, for Wasting Light, after all these years, all these lineup changes, and all these singles coming out, and all these growing pains, for me, like, this is almost like the debut that they always wanted.
Yeah.
They finally have a solid band lineup. They got the sound they wanted. They got the two guitarists and Dave coming in on third guitar, and I just feel like this kind of sets them up for that next generation of their career, next era of their career, I should say.
And even throughout the entire album process, too, the flow specifically from track to track to track is so on point. That just that level of production is hard to think about. And also, I mentioned this before, that he did it in his garage. Yep. He's a multimillionaire at this point, so it's not like, oh, he's going to some random dude's garage.
Like cobwebs.
It's a mansion's garage.
Right, it's a full-fledged studio.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, it's at his house. They didn't go to this big studio.
Yeah.
They wanted to do it in an intimate setting, which they did, and it proved to be successful.
Exactly.
And I feel like they always had the album approach for this album, because when they played live on tour for this album, they also have a live show on David Letterman's show, Live with David Letterman. Mm-hmm. Great show. So every show they played, concluding that show, they played the entire album front to back. Then after that, they play like their hits. So like their concert was the album, and then their hits. So they always had the album concept in their head, which I appreciated. It just goes to show how much they valued each song on the album.
Yeah, I mean, it's not an album where you kind of said, okay, our first song is going to be kind of, a hit, and then 2 or 3 and we might have a hit, and then we're just going to have a couple that just sit there, and then all of a sudden we're going to end with a couple good ones, and that's it. Every song was just one after the other, flowed. Yes. You're just ready for the next one. Mm-hmm. So it's a good album, very good album.
I guess we like it, huh?
Yeah, it's not bad. It's not bad. I can.
Also, just real quick, originally I labeled I Should Have Known as my worst track, because it wasn't really sonically the most impressive thing that they had done. But when I kind of got more into the track lyrically and thematically, a lot of the lyrics are kind of like hinted at being about Kurt Cobain.
Yeah.
Like, I should have known that all this was going to happen. They mentioned it was like the X factor of the track, just because of like the violins and the acoustic and all these other elements that are so different from the rest of the album, that it kind of changes. It's especially because it's the second to last track that was going to happen. And they also brought Chris Novoselic.
Chris Novoselic.
Novoselic, sorry, the bassist from Nirvana, onto the track, which I think kind of furthers. What?
There's accordion on that track.
There is.
They also played accordion.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
They brought in some like secondary players.
Yeah. No, the bassist.
Novoselic played?
Yeah, Novoselic.
Really?
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Bass and accordion on I Should Have Known.
Huh.
Okay.
Once I got more into the thematic parts of the track, then it didn't become my least favorite.
Right.
Yeah.
That's probably either Missed
That's
the Misery
usually a lot of things, lyrics and, all that little stuff hidden behind like meanings and everything else. I mean, for people who just listen to the track as is, sometimes be like, it's not the greatest. And then you start getting all those pieces together, and it becomes, a lot more heart and soul in it. So.
Yeah, and the fact that it goes into Walk right at the end, which is a very, very powerful outro to an album, I think.
Yeah, a lot of albums end in, you get your kind of your last ballad.
Yeah.
And go out, and this one doesn't. It's one just
says, it ends on a high note.
And get out of here.
Yep. Walk, actually, funny story. My fiance Amanda and I, for our wedding, we found a orchestral version of Walk.
It's beautiful.
And we're going to be walking into our ceremony.
That is beautiful.
Into that.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and it's really cool. once you hear it with the strings and everything, it kind of it makes sense. So
Yeah.
I wanted to have a little Foo Fighter touch that time.
That's great. So,
Cool.
Yeah, how many bops out of 5 would you give this album?
Oh
Personally?
man, are we starting with Bops? We're going right into the ratings.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I think so.
I mean, for me, this is a no-brainer. I mean, we're going out of 5, right?
Yes.
5 out of 5 Bops for me.
Okay.
For me, that's just it's a must listen. If you want to get into Foo Fighters, I'm giving you this album to start out with.
I'm gonna be that guy that says you can't have 5 out of 5 unless it's just like absolutely
every track's a banger.
Exactly. I'm gonna go 4 out of 5.
4
which
out of
is
5.
still,
All right.
because again, it flows well. One thing into the into the next. You're expecting the next song. It's got good
Yep.
ballads. So yeah, 4 out of 5 for me.
It's better than what you would have said 10 years ago.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
You would have said, Joe, no, I'm all set.
Well, I wouldn't have listened.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm gonna have to agree with Mike. I'm gonna go with 4.5 bops out of 5.
4.5, okay.
It's every track is definitely a listenable track and is one of their best albums since The Color and the Shape, like I said before. I don't think necessarily it had the biggest influence or impact into the rock genre that it should have.
I
necessarily.
know, right.
This should have been such a bigger album than it was, but it kind of flew under the radar.
I know, and I think the time period it came out in has a factor on that, has
Yep.
an effect on that.
Yeah.
Which is too bad, because I think some of these songs are right up there with some of their most well-known singles.
Yeah.
And it is too bad that this doesn't have the prominence, like you
Yeah.
said.
And so for our Bunny Patch Strawberry Milkshake IPA, how many hops out of 5 would you give it? That's our rating system, by the way.
Rating for hops. Okay, Mike, why don't you
I'm
start?
gonna say 4.5.
Okay.
Oh,
So
no,
I'm gonna
4.5.
go 4.5. It's a great IPA. It's got a nice little touch at the end. The fruity flavor for me is fantastic. I'm not gonna go 5 out of 5. I do get to a point where if I drink it and drink a ton of it, I need a break. And I'm not saying like, oh, I can't drink it again. I just,
Yeah.
It's just a distinct flavor
Yeah,
that-
I need a day or
right.
two off before I
Yep.
start drinking it again.
Yeah, right.
So I'm gonna put it at a 4.5. Yep.
That's pretty solid. I would probably round it around to about a 4 out of 5 hops. Not bops. Not bops. Specifically hops. It's got that body and structure that you want out of an IPA, and it's got the little bit of tinge of strawberry near the end. It could be a little bit more pronounced, I would say, but still, it's definitely serviceable and a very solid start to the podcast.
Yes.
What do you say?
For me, and it comes down to just the strawberry, because I'm not a big strawberry guy. I'm going to give it 3.5 hops. However, I know I keep
Bopping the shit out of this
fucking
beer.
this up. Anyway,
And listen to it.
I know, but
The ocean.
you know, it's purely because I'm not a fan of strawberry. It's a very well-made beer. I think they did a great job with the IPA and the flavor of the strawberry mixed together. So if you're into kind of experimental IPAs and other types of beers, definitely go check this one out. But for me, it's 3.5 hops.
Okay.
My favorite track on the album, it's tough.
Yeah.
But I think it's between Bridge Burning, Walk, and These Days. I think I'm going Bridge Burning. It's just a kick in the ass to start the album. That's my favorite track on the album.
Mine would, like I said, I like the way Rope comes in. I like that delay. I like it. It's just kind of a very like intro song to me, and I just love the tightness of not your standard kind of just 4/4 beat through. It's got all those pauses. Yeah, it's still a 4/4, but it's got those pauses and those kind of jumps, and they just nail it. I really like that.
I would probably have to agree with Joe and go with Bridge Burning, just because a lot of the emotional connection I have to it as a young child playing Madden NFL 12.
Oh, yeah.
But that intro with all the kind of wonky guitar intro, but it's got such an intense energy and the charisma, and it's the perfect flow from the verse to the chorus. Just so much power on that track that
builds the
you
energy.
can't skip it.
Definitely. How about least favorite tracks?
I'm probably going to have to go with Miss the Misery. While it's still a solid track and is serviceable on its own, I don't think necessarily it has the impact that they kind of wanted it to have.
Okay.
Yeah, I went with a Matter of Time just because it kind of had that really pop rock feel that I feel like, again, it fit the album. It did well. It was a good song, but it just didn't quite have the balls that every other song had.
Right. I agree with you, Mike. That's my least favorite. And just because if there is to be a filler on the album, I think this song
Yeah.
might be considered that. It's a great song, but just because of the power the rest of the album is, some song has to come in last.
Yeah.
That's it for me. How about a dark horse song,
Oh,
like a
this
sleeper
easy.
song that not a lot of people know, but you would recommend?
So like I said, I kind of veered away from a song people don't know. I know These Days was a single, but I kind of put it as like the dark horse single. Like I think it was one of, if not their best single.
Yeah.
Even though it was maybe their third, I think, on the album.
Yeah.
I think it was the third one to come out, and just a great kind of ballad type of a song, like you said, quintessential Foo Fighters.
Yeah.
I'm gonna shake it up a little bit and throw in White Limo.
Oh,
It's
love White Limo.
One of the most head-busting tracks that Foo Fighters has ever done. Dave Grohl just screaming his brains out with a little bit of compression on it. Just, there's so much there that, and I think it was also a single too, right?
I believe it was.
So I'm kind of in the same mode as Mike here
Dark Horse
with that.
single on that one.
Yeah, I know, but it's still not necessarily one
Yes,
of
it
their
was
most
their
known tracks.
second single.
Really? Okay. But yeah, definitely intense, raw energy throughout the whole thing.
Did you ever see the music video for it, White
have
Limo?
not.
It's recorded on VHS tape.
Really?
They got this old school white limo, and the four of them are just dressed up in these wacky costumes. It's another thing. They're well known for their music videos. And it looks like you're watching like a VCR tape from like your parents' cabinet. Like it's just cool. Like
Your parents' wedding video that porn got taped over.
it just
You trying to tell us something?
Yeah, right. It just matches the overall theme. Like they really went with that throwback theme for the album.
Exactly.
My dark horse song is actually "Miss the Misery."
Oh, okay.
I'm actually a big fan of that song. I like the intro of the song, how it kind of builds the intensity with the guitar. I believe it's in 7/8 timing, which is different than the rest of the album. And I just think the riff and the drum beat to it, as soon as it all comes in, it's just awesome. That's my dark horse track. So, yeah,
Yeah.
I think we did it.
Yeah.
Should we plug who we talked about here?
So yeah, once again, just want to plug Witchdoctor Brewing Company. You can find them on Facebook, Instagram. I believe it's just at Witchdoctor Brewing. And local Southington brewery with some great beers there.
Yep. Foo Fighters, I mean, it's just
you
at
know.
Foo Fighters.
I think you can find
Instagram, foofighters.com. Check them out for sure. And they have some other good stuff to listen to.
Yeah, thank you guys for listening so much. Episode 2 is coming out soon. Would you like to say what we're doing for episode 2?
Yeah, so episode 2, we are going to talk about Shinedown's second album, Us and Them. Which, one of my favorite albums, so I'm really excited about that one.
You're bringing that to the table.
I am.
Yeah. So I'm bringing one of my recently favorite beers. It's by Fat Orange Cat in East Hampton called Baby Kittens. We're going to be talking about that. So stay tuned for that episode coming soon. But until then, please follow us on social media, Instagram and Facebook, Hops and Bops Podcast, all one word.
Nice solid ampersand.
Yes, ampersand in there. However, the handle is the word and. Hops and Bops Podcast. Episodes streaming exclusively on YouTube. For right now, yes. But join us, follow us, join the family, join the crew. We'd love to have you on board. For those that listen to our trailer and this first episode, we can't thank you enough. This has been a lot of fun for us, and we're excited for all the future episodes to come. So we'll see you guys soon, and stay tuned for next episode.
Peace.